May. This is Breakfast on GB News with Eamon Holmes and Isabel Webster.
Thank you very much for your company, whether you're listening to us or watching us. Here's what's leading the news this morning.
And an EastEnders actor who was sexually abused hundreds of times by a showbiz paedophile is speaking out 25 years later about his ordeal. He's given his first broadcast interview to GB News' Ellie Costello.
Look, please do watch us today, listen to us as well, and you can join in any of the discussions, any of the subjects we're dealing with. If it's important to you, it's important to us. You can email gbviews@gbnews.uk or you can tweet at gbnews. Here is our top story on this Thursday morning. Ukrainian soldiers are a disturbing story here. An EastEnders actor who was sexually abused hundreds of times as a child by a showbiz paedophile is now speaking out about his ordeal.
Yeah, Stuart Antony was abused by Billy Nutt, a singer who performed with the likes of Dame Shirley Bassey and Sir Tom Jones, who was also a close family friend. Well, he's spoken exclusively to our reporter, Ellie Costello.
Stuart Antony is an actor best known for his roles in EastEnders, The Bill and now Cockney and Scouse. But despite his success, he has been suffering in silence for years. As a child, he was abused hundreds of times by a close family friend.
So my mum worked in a pub when she was 17, 18. He was in a band and he lived in the area that I grew up. I remember saying to my mum, "He was a nice man, who's that, mum?" She said, "Oh, that was my friend." At first, it was that grooming process. It was very hard. You know, I thought he really liked me, and was a friend. Clearly not.
How long did the abuse go on for?
About 5 years, roughly. Hundreds of times. I spent a lot of time with him.
In what way has the abuse changed your life? What impact has it had on you?
Relationships. How I am as a person. I found myself drinking too much, sleeping, just day to day how I am with people. Yeah, it's affected, and it's going to take a while to, even now everything's out, will I ever be the same again?
When you heard that he was going to serve a long prison sentence, how did that make you feel? What was your reaction? Did you feel as though justice had been done in any way?
I did. It's hard because I didn't ever feel, whatever sentence he got, I thought, oh, well, it's not going to be long enough. But he was given 18 years. And yeah, for his age, he's 63. For his age now, he's going to serve a minimum term of 12 years at least before he can apply for parole. So, that's going to make him 75. His best days are gone, and hopefully, if he ever comes out, he'll maybe have learnt his lesson. And I said this at the end of my statement in court. And people will probably say, "Oh, you're too kind," but I really genuinely hope that he gets the help that he truly needs.
Why now have you decided to speak to the press about your story? Because
I thought to myself, well, if I'd come forward, that other little boy, that was actually a 4-year-old, it would never have happened to him. So there was some guilt there, and people say to me, "Oh, you shouldn't feel guilty," but I believe there are other victims. I needed to come forward, but the time had to be right, and because of his other crimes, I was able to come forward and be believed as well, because it's very hard. That was one part that I've had since all this happened with court. People have said to me, "Oh, why didn't you come forward earlier?" I've had some trolls online that have been like, "Oh, well, he's had 15 years to come forward. Why didn't he? Why now?" Well, the time has to be right.
There's still a misconception as well that rape and sexual abuse doesn't really happen to men. And the reality is 1 in 6 men have experienced some form of sexual abuse, which is horrendous. And the additional thing as well with childhood sexual abuse, or with forms of abuse where people know the perpetrator, they may have been groomed over a long period of time. And it might not be until years later that people do feel able to speak out.
If there is someone watching at home now and they have been through what you've been through and they haven't yet spoken to anybody, what would your advice be to them?
Talk to somebody. a friend, a family member, someone you trust, because it's easier than you think, and that's the aim. If I can get one person to know that somebody is listening to them, that's my job done.
Well, that was the story of Stuart Antony. He played a friend of Alfie Moon in EastEnders, and speaking now, as he was saying there to Ellie.
So brave. Really, really hard to do that, I'd imagine.
Yeah. After being abused in a 5-year ordeal between the ages of 10 and 15. So his attacker was a singer called Billy Nutt. And that won't be an isolated story. I mean, perhaps you know of it yourself, and the more people are aware, you would have thought after the Jimmy Savile situation that people would have been more aware about this, and maybe that's what encourages people like Stuart to speak out. But it obviously goes on. It goes on in all sorts of walks of life.
1 in 6 men affected by it, according to that statistic in the VT there.
But if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in that interview, you can head to the Survivors Trust website. That's the Survivors Trust website, or to text services and local support in your area as well.
Yeah, do email us, gbviews@gbnews.uk, if you do need any further information on that as well. Well done, Stuart. Really, really brave to talk like that, and will help other people come forward. And, yeah, we really appreciate him talking to Ellie in that way, such an honest way.
So Stuart, in EastEnders, he played a friend of Alfie Moon's, and being abused there in a 5-year ordeal between the ages of 10 and 15. I mean, even the name of his attacker, Billy Nutt, I don't like it. You know, it's just something, but awful. And this goes on, and it goes on in areas where, you know, young men are vulnerable, where young men are, you know, I suppose, unprotected.
Yeah.
And it goes on in the showbiz arena as well, because people want to get on, and people listen to promises, and people are lured in by, you know, I can make your career, whatever it happens to be.
Untouchables, supposedly. People think that they're above the law. We saw it, didn't we, with Jimmy Savile, and it happens all too easy under the radar, supposedly. So, you know, amazing that Billy Nutt was convicted last year, and that statistic in Ellie's report there, that 1 in 6 young men affected by situations like this, really, really shocking. So if you are one of those, there are lots of ways that you can get support. We've been telling you this morning, head to the Survivors Trust website, or to text services and local support in your area as well. And for any more information on that, we can bring that to you if you email us, gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Well, if you're affected by anything that you heard from Anthony there, of the issues raised in that interview, you can head to the Survivors Trust website, or to text services and local support in your area as well.
Yeah, just so much respect for Stuart for speaking out, what he's carried all his life, and what he will do by speaking out in terms of encouraging others to come forward and share that burden is not to be sniffed at. I mean, he is a hero, really, to have survived that and to have talked to us. So we appreciate that. And if you have been affected to it, as Eamon says, get in touch. You can email us at gbviews@gbnews.uk if you need any further information on where to get some support.